Okay, how do we start this one?
Let's talk money.
Money.
What is money?
Oh, it's a big one. Money makes the world go round, they say.
They do. They say all sorts of things. We'll come back onto that. Good point.
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk about money as a social contract.
Yeah.
Why is money a social contract? A service essentially is behaviors. What you're doing is you're saying, I've got something, which means that I can predictably in the future exchange this for an expected behavior from you.
Yeah.
Now, this might be that if I go to a restaurant, I'm going to expect the waiter, the waiting staff, the chef team, I'm going to expect behaviors from all of them that's going to lead to their service and putting food in front of me. So I'm expecting behaviors of them.
Yeah.
And I've got this money to know that that contract is available for me in the future. And then you could say, well, what about goods? What about a guitar? A guitar is not like behavior. Well, it's a behavior for someone to make the guitar. So it's a behavior for someone to design the guitar. So actually all money really, when you really look closely under the hood, is a bunch of expected social contracts in the future.
Yeah.
And
Well, the future part's interesting because it is a power over time and space to some extent, but definitely times. In the past, you would have always had to look after your sheep or vegetables. You'd be constantly looking after it.
Yeah.
You know, now we've got something that says, hold on to this, because at any point in the future, you can access these resources.
Yeah, you can change people's behavior
Yeah.
because of a social contract. Now, if we go back to some of the things you mentioned, some of the sayings, aphorisms, money makes the world go round. Well, let's rephrase it. Social contracts make the world go round. This fits back into the idea of no man is an island.
Yeah.
We are all interconnected and we are all living in this big flux together. So no matter how ruggedly individualistic we like to think we can get, we'll claw it out for ourselves, we'll make the money by ourselves, we'll just do it all ourselves. Actually, that's not true. We are not an island, and social contracts make the world go round. We will be leveraging it later. Even if you make the money, what are you going to do with it?
Yeah.
Spend it again on social contracts. So I think there's an important point of how, if we keep that in mind, that the social contract is inherently part of it, it might stop us from straying too far away from that important bit of the agreement.
Yeah.
Because if we get too caught up in individualism, then there can be the temptation of skewing social contracts.
Yeah. It's interesting because there's the whole belief part of it. Money relies on belief in that social contract. But there's, I don't know if it's agnostic or secular kind of thing to money, where you don't see the social contract. You don't think about who had the money last, you know.
Yeah, well,
or where it's come from.
Money talks is another one. Well, actually, it's very clearly the social contracts that are doing the talking. And money only talks in as far as the system is set up to, and people are willing to participate in it. There's plenty of post-apocalyptic films where the first thing to go out the window is how much cash you've got, because that system's gone under. You're back to...
Well, even in Germany, they were burning money, weren't they, because of the inflation? They were burning notes because... Yeah, but in dystopian, post-apocalyptic stuff, the money's not needed.
The first thing to go out the window, because the money never had the value.
Yeah.
It was the social contract that in this system, whilst we all agree, then we can leverage each other's behaviour in these value quantifications.
But then again, when the money was gold or silver, it did have a value. But again, that's still a social contract. It's a construct. Value is a construct.
We've all got to agree that gold is valuable.
Yeah, unless you are sort of in the sea on a life raft, you probably don't want the weight of gold. It'd probably be a negative thing there.
Exactly. Context specific. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So once again, it brings what is valuable. And the thing that escapes every time, whether you're on a life raft by yourself with a ton of gold that's not helping you, or whether you're in a post-apocalyptic 28 days later, whatever situation you're in, where all societal things have otherwise broken down, the thing that still matters at that point in time is social contract.
Yeah.
And when you're on a life raft by yourself, what's the thing you're missing the most? What are you actually hoping and praying for on that raft?
Other people.
social contract. You don't want to be on the life raft by yourself. So whatever happens, the surrogate, money's a surrogate, all these other things are surrogate. What makes the world go round is the social contract. And it's quite interesting about, I don't want to vilify and make an enemy out of the concept of making money. Unfortunately, hand in hand, it can get misled into abusing people along the way. But that's what's short-sighted. Making money of itself by creating new things, generating new value, new systems, new products, new ideas, new intellectual property, all the things that we enjoy from modern technology. This is all fantastic and enriches our lives. We have so many more blessings in our lives as a result of these new creations. And they should be well remunerated. There's no problem in that. But along the way, if you forget that the social contract is part of it, that's where you might cut corners. That's where the cutting corners might lead to risks and dangers, maybe some deaths along the way, because you just needed to make a bit of money and you went for some cheaper material, or you didn't quite get the required things checked out.
Well, this is I think I said agnostic or secular. It's almost like, because of how efficient money is, it allows for this, well, not plausible deniability, but ignorance, really, not knowing. I don't know where the money's passed, how many hands it's passed through, or whatever. I read somewhere that Amish people, they don't have electricity in their houses because they can't guarantee the purity of the energy that's coming in or where it's from. I love that idea.
Very interesting.
But I'm also like, I like electricity, I like electric lights. Like, do I want to go into that nuance with money?
But it is very interesting that what part we do to a certain degree, right? So if you're investing in things, are you the kind of investor who's like, I'm quite happy with so long as I make money back at the highest rate, I don't really care if it comes from war. Those nuances can come in because, once again, you might make a ton of money, but if you're investing in a lot of war and that just, helps to prioritize war systems and encourages their growth further and further and further, you're part of that. Brilliant. You've got a load of money. You're going to spend it on a nice and huge bunker for yourself. The social contract is always there. What do you actually want? And I think it's important to keep rephrasing this so that we bear that in mind. Not because money is a villain, but without the social contract, we're misguided. We're actually not making the most of the money that's available. By all means, make money, create, build, get the value, encourage, propagate it around so the society around you builds from it. And if you do it with honoring social contracts around you, and that's day to day, just being a good colleague, being a good boss, providing good service, not cutting those corners unnecessarily just to squeeze that extra bit of money out. Are you honoring the social contract better and therefore making the money more enjoyable for yourself and others throughout the way? Does that make the energy, as an analogy, and that for the Amish energy analogy you mentioned, does that make the energy cleaner? Does that make the money cleaner?
Well, I think it depends on the individual.
Another perfect example is like your person on the life raft. Whilst people are trying to live off grid, they're making a different social contract. They're withdrawing themselves from money, right? So I don't need money. I don't need the social contracts in the world going around. Well, actually, if you're living off grid, you've created a new bunch of social contracts. If you're completely by yourself, that's still a social contract to make sure that you're contracting yourself to not meet anyone else. Because that's what you're trying to see if it works for you. It's you, maybe nature, and that's it. You're a survivalist, that's how you're doing it. Fine, that's your contract. Even if you do it with a few other people, a family or a little group of people that you just want to try life outside of the system and off grid, that's your new social contract. And I understand that too, because big groups of people, populations and organizations, they have their own emergencies and difficulties, unexpected things that come from social contracts, which can make life difficult as well. But either which way, you're never escaping a social contract. Even if the contract is, I'm going to be by myself because I don't want them with me. But you can escape money. I do want to reiterate the individualism part, that we you can't detach it from people. And an idea that I'll just win, I'll get mine, I'll sort me out first, and then after that I'll be able to. It's like weakening a bridge that you're then going to try and cross later on. It doesn't make sense. It's that the shared belief in the cooperation is required all along the way. And even if you think you are getting yours and winning and doing things at the cost without anyone else, elbows up, in that kind of situation, it might just be that people are allowing you to, because it's too much fuss to really get in the way of you. You're just, that you're being tolerated more than anything else. There's still social contract in that. And then when you come back, because you've got yours and you made it and you did it all by yourself, that when you come to spend it, great, they're not going to be there. Especially in the longer, later terms of life. And I think that social contract plays out more as we get older. Because as the value of these things, as we're relying on money and the individualism as the chief determinant, that at the end, towards the end of life, whatever happens, and no matter how I've behaved with people, the money that I've made and the fact that I've sorted out my family and maybe generations to come, that means that they'll still be societally obligated to value me and have me around and care and respect for me. That's a big jump. If you've been very difficult to them over the decades up to it, you might find yourself quite lonely, even if you have sorted out quite a few generations to come. Or if not lonely, surrounded by yes men.
You can't escape people and your need for people. Have you ever been wrapped up in making money or chasing money or materialism?
I'd like to say no. I've been quite lucky enough to have enough. I've never really valued the ostentatious, over-expensive things. In a way, I always felt like I could see through them, like that's not good value. Because I've also looked at the very converse end, where a lot of my most cherished memories from being 14 are spending a whole summer with my friends playing football with jumpers for goalposts.
That cost nothing.
That cost
the experiences that cost
a
nothing.
few jumpers and a football, and that's it. And then you sit around talking after football late into the evening. And I have been in other situations since there where much more money's been spent on the situation, but I cherish that one. Another thing is the way it can scale from the individual to broader systems. So if the social contracts fail in a small interaction between a few people, if it's bad enough, it can scale to much bigger effects.
Well, just to clarify, can a social contract ever fail? It's like an exchange rate, isn't it? It's like, well, I'm not going to do business with you, or you'll have to pay more. It's not actually something that
it hasn't failed.
Society can break down. But like, would still be trading. Like,
and
we'd have to.
We'd have to.
But that's
because the contract's always there.
The contract's always there.
A contract has to be there.
You can't even if you hate the social contract or other people, you can't get away from it.
You can't.
You always have to. Everything is always an exchange and an agreement. Or even if it's taken, it's still an exchange. You're going to make some bad blood there.
You're going to make some bad blood, and that exchange will come around. Maybe not in your lifetime.
Yeah.
But give it a few lifetimes yet to go, and you'll see the kind of misery that gets sadly shown as a repeating pattern through generations and generations around the world as wars carry on. And there's areas of discontent and ongoing violence. Those kinds of things are from those kinds of situations. If we take financial crises, for example, there was some elements of the banking system that were corrupted. There were some elements, from what I understand, of how the mortgage systems were corrupted. And these were social contracts that people were trying to cut corners on, essentially. But the ripples of the financial crises that came from that in 2008 were felt decades later. Still ongoing factor in many things and can affect things like public spending to this day.
Mm.
Deficits continue, how much we can spend on things, all affected from something, nearly 20 years ago.
Yeah, but war and like financial crisis, is that something that shouldn't happen?
Oh, very different.
Disagreements even, is it?
I mean, should, once again, who are we to say should?
Yeah, that's it.
Are they inevitable? Are they part of the fact that social contracts are going to break down? No matter how much we try, there are going to be some people that will try to break them down.
Yeah.
And
But are we supposed to? Is there sort of like an evolutionary kind of the mutation of ideas and even DNA to like, everywhere in nature there's like exchanges and conflicts.
agreed, yeah.
I used to think in the future it'd be a bit like Star Trek, like, but now I'm kind of thinking like, I wonder if we'll always be at conflict, whatever form that takes. There'll always be dominant ideas or religions or ideologies that will just flow up, and one that's not that good might take over for a while, and then it might subside, and then another one will come back.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like the biological carrying capacity of different species locking together.
Yeah.
So you have kind of the prey, the predators, and the sources of infection. So when any one of these any one of these tips up into too high, the whole system changes again.
Yeah.
To accommodate for that.
So there is some kind of balance going on.
There's always balance going on.
Mm.
But that doesn't mean to say that conflicts and wars and suffering has to be the way it was in the past.
No.
Those can still evolve.
Yeah.
So you can hopefully be less violent than we have done in previous centuries. And maybe there is a case that is gradually happening, that over thousands and thousands of years, whilst we might have a much more devastating capacity to be violent, how often we use it and how much of the general population is exposed to that might be on the decrease if we compare it to a few thousand years ago.
Yeah. But then we zoom out, it could be like, we don't know what's around the corner for the next million years. It could be.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, we won't be.
No.
With a blink of an eye.
Yeah. Well, maybe then we should appreciate our social contracts.
That doesn't seem to be a better way, right?
Blink of an eye. Yeah.
Doesn't seem to be a better way. Anything else seems short-sighted. Building on this idea, in the end screen will be a video about what generates value, and humans more so than AI can generate value.